This is Best HFY Stories Humanity. Fuck yeah.
The explosion came without warning. In the vacuum of space, sound did not travel yet. The violence was unmistakable. A silent fury rippled through the orbital mining rig, tearing apart titanium struts in carbon composite panels as if they were paper. Oxygen tanks ruptured in dazzling flares, igniting brief tongues of fire that winked out as quickly as they appeared. A billion shards of debris spun away from the crippled station, reflecting the nearby planet's pale light in jagged flashes. Helio Station, once humanity's proudest deep space extraction facility, was dying. Inside its collapsing husk, chaos reigned. Liam Hardo's eyes opened to blackness. For a long moment, he could not tell whether he was alive, dead, or drifting somewhere in between. Then came the pain, sharp, searing, demanding. It radiated from his left side, stabbing with every shallow breath. His fingers brushed something wet on his temple, and they came away sticky. Blood, his own. The dim red glow of emergency lights sputtered to life overhead, throwing uneven shadows across the buckled corridor. The dying station's AI sputtered through broken speakers, systems offline, life support critical, evacuate immediately. Liam gave a bitter laugh that came out as a cough. Evacuate where? The nearest outpost was 400,000 kilometers away. The escape pods, if any remained intact, were scattered across shredded compartments. Survival was a word that had already lost its meaning. But instinct pushed him onward. Pinned beneath a twisted beam, he summoned what strength he could muster and pressed upward. The metal shifted reluctantly, scraping sparks against the floor. Inch by inch, he dragged himself free, gasping as a gash along his ribs flared with pain. His uniform hung in tatters, soaked with sweat and streaked with blood. His wrist display flickered to life, oxygen 78% and falling. Not good. A sudden crash echoed from somewhere deeper in the wreckage. Another closer this time. Liam froze, breath caught in his throat. He was not alone. With nothing but a length of broken pipe to arm himself, he limped forward, each step reverberating hollowly through the dying corridor. The passage twisted unnaturally where the blast had warped the structure. Panels bowed outward, edges sharp enough to cut through flesh. Through gaps in the broken hull, stars glimmered, cold, indifferent witnesses to Helio's demise. A collapsed ceiling blocked his way. Through a narrow gap, Liam glimpsed movement. Plastic creaked, metal snapped. Someone or something was alive beyond the rubble. "Hello," he called, voice thin against the hiss of leaking air. The reply came as a metallic groan, followed by a string of guttural syllables in a language he didn't recognize. Cursing, maybe, human alien. He didn't know. He squeezed through the jagged opening, scraping his arms raw, and emerged into what remained of the command module. Shattered viewports opened onto the void. Red warning lights reflected like ghostly eyes in the glass. Shadows shifted and a figure emerged, a technician, her face pale, illuminated by the dying glow of a panel. "Don't go in there," she hissed. "You'll kill us all if you open the wrong hatch." Something crashed through from the military sector. Her voice shook with panic. Liam barely had time to answer before another sound reached him. Metal grinding on metal, followed by a low guttural groan. His grip tightened on the pipe. Then he saw her. Pinned beneath a collapsed support column lay a massive figure in battered combat armor. Even half buried in debris, she was imposing easily, 2 meters tall, shoulders broad enough to fill the corridor. Her helmet was cracked, blood streaking across her cheek where the visor had shattered. Insignia on her shoulder identified her instantly: Commander Tana Voss, one of the elite warriors stationed aboard Helio. Her eyes locked onto his, bright with fury despite the blood. "Technician," she barked, voice raw but commanding. "Get this off me. Now." Liam froze. In 6 months working on Helio, he had never spoken to one of the military staff directly. They lived in their own hierarchy, untouchable, regarding civilians like him as little more than tools. "Your lower rank," she snapped. "Obey." 6 months of silent endurance surged through Liam's veins. 6 months of being invisible, dismissed, ordered about without so much as a glance. He glanced at the crowbar hanging from a nearby emergency kit. Without a word, he grabbed it and tossed it onto the floor beside her. "Dig yourself out," he said coldly, turning away. The sound of shifting metal froze him mid-step. With shocking speed, Tana freed one arm and swung the crowbar at his head. Liam ducked the weapon, slicing past his ear with a hiss. Their eyes met hers, burning with rage, his alive with defiance. For a heartbeat, violence hovered between them. She could kill him with her bare hands. They both knew it. But instead of striking again, Tana lowered the weapon. "The station is breaking apart," she said evenly, though strain threaded her voice. "We need to reach the escape pods." "Section 4, Liam replied bitterly. "There is no Section 4 anymore. It tore away. I saw it go." The lights flickered, plunging them into 3 seconds of terrifying darkness before stabilizing. Somewhere in the distance, the tortured skeleton of Helio groaned. Tana's lips tightened. She tried again, her tone shifting, less command, more request. "Help me." Liam hesitated, then stepped forward. Together they pushed against the column. Metal screamed in protest, but slowly it shifted enough for her to crawl free. She rose unsteadily, testing her weight. The armor around her left leg was crushed blood seeping through the joints. "You're hurt," Liam said, more observation than sympathy. "Irrelevant," she replied curtly, though her wince betrayed her. "What's your name, technician?" Liam Hardo." "Well, Hardo, we need to reach communications. There's an emergency beacon in Tunnel B." "Why should I trust you?" he challenged. "Because we're the only 2 people alive on this wreck," she shot back, eyes narrowing. "And because I didn't kill you when you defied me." He couldn't argue with that. The tunnels groaned around them as they moved, half-collapsed and flickering with exposed wiring. Gravity shifted in unsettling bursts, sending debris floating before crashing down again. Tana advanced with military precision, scanning every junction, but her limp slowed her pace. "How long have you been stationed here?" Liam asked, desperate to distract himself from the growing pain in his ribs. "That's classified." "Right. Sorry I asked." They reached a fork. Liam pointed left. "This way." No, Tana countered instantly. "Structural integrity compromised." "We go right." "That adds 20 minutes, he argued. "The beacon's closer this way. I know these tunnels. I've worked them for 6 months." "You'll be crushed to death." "Then I'll take my chances." Before she could stop him, he ducked into the left passage. 3 steps later, a beam above snapped loose. He looked up just as it plummeted toward him, only to be knocked aside by a force slamming into his back. "Tana." She shoved him forward, the beam smashing where he'd stood. "That's why we don't go left," she groaned, rolling off him. Liam pushed himself upright, shaken. For the first time, he realized her rage wasn't pure arrogance. It was survival. At the junction, another survivor appeared. Technician, Maline uniform, torn and face streaked with grime. She eyed Tana with open suspicion. "Why are you helping her?" she demanded, trembling. The military section was hit first. This was targeted. She could be with them. Tana's jaw tightened. "Civilian, you're speaking without information." "I have enough," Maline snapped. "I saw a military transport dock an hour before the blast. No manifest, no schedule. You think that's coincidence?" She turned to Liam. "We should hand her over to security if anyone's still alive. She's dangerous." Liam looked between them, Maline terrified but resolute. Tana wounded but unyielding. His ribs throbbed, his mind screamed to run, but his heart made the choice. "She's injured," he said finally. "I'm not abandoning her." "Then you're a fool," Maline spat. She backed away, voice bitter. "When they come for survivors, they won't care that you played nurse to the enemy." Her footsteps echoed into silence. Liam turned back to Tana. The impact had torn open her leg armor, shrapnel embedded deep in her thigh. Blood seeped freely. "You'll bleed out," he said grimly. "I'll walk." She tried to rise and fell back with a grunt. "Not with that in your leg." He pulled the med kit from his belt. "Hold still. I can do it myself." "You'll make it worse." Their eyes locked, another battle of wills. Then against all her instincts, she relented. "Fine, do it quickly." Liam's hand steadied as he extracted the shard-applied sealant gel and wrapped the wound. Tana's jaw clenched, sweat beading on her brow, but she did not make a sound. When he finished, he wiped a smudge of dirt from her cheek without thinking. "You had dirt there, Commander," he murmured. Her eyes widened, not with rage, but with something unfamiliar. "Vulnerability." She laughed short and sharp, startling herself. For the first time, Liam glimpsed not the armored warrior, but the human beneath. The corridor beyond the junction smelled of scorched metal and coolant. Every breath Liam drew tasted like rust and ozone scraping his throat raw. He adjusted the makeshift bandage on his ribs and tried to ignore the way his hands shook. Pain was constant now, a dull roar just beneath consciousness, yet his eyes remained fixed on the towering figure beside him. Commander Tanavos limped forward. Her armor scarred her face pale but unyielding. The wound in her thigh bled sluggishly despite his field dressing. Each step seemed to cost her, yet she moved with the stubborn determination of someone who had faced worse and survived. Liam had never stood so close to a soldier of her caliber. On Helio Station, civilians and military rarely mingled. The warriors carried themselves with an aloofness, a cultivated distance that reminded the technicians exactly where they stood in the hierarchy. Yet here in the half-lit wreckage, the rules of rank felt brittle. The gap between them narrowed, not erased, but tested, strained by circumstance. They passed through a narrow service crawl. Gravity flickered again, sending shards of glass and floating tools into the air before slamming them back to the deck. Liam grabbed a rail to steady himself. Tana stumbled, nearly falling. Instinct overrode hesitation. Liam caught her arm. Her eyes snapped to his hand, sharp as a blade. For an instant, he expected her to shake him off. Instead, she exhaled slowly and allowed him to bear some of her weight. "Don't mistake this for weakness," she muttered. "I wouldn't dream of it," he replied dryly. The faintest curve touched the corner of her lips, a ghost of amusement or maybe approval. The emergency lighting grew weaker as they pushed deeper into the station's broken spine. Exposed wiring sparked, throwing brief flashes of white-blue across the corridor. Shadows leapt like predators. The air grew thinner, each breath a little harder than the last. Liam's wrist display now read oxygen 64%. Time was bleeding away. "We'll reach the beacon through Maintenance Tunnel B," Liam said, forcing confidence into his voice. "If the blast didn't collapse it completely." "It had better not," Tana answered, scanning their surroundings with sharp eyes. Silence stretched between them. He wanted to ask about her injury, about her unit, about why the military section had been hit first. But every time he opened his mouth, the words withered. What did a lowly technician say to someone like her? It was Tana who finally broke the quiet. "You've been here 6 months. Yeah, long enough to know where every bolt and weld belongs. Long enough to know when something feels wrong." Her gaze flicked toward him, curious. "And does this feel wrong to you?" "Wrong," he gave a short, bitter laugh. The station exploded. "Everyone's dead or dying. Yeah, it feels wrong." "I meant," before she clarified, "before the explosion." Liam hesitated. Memories stirred, strange shipments arriving without manifest corridors, sealed without explanation, whispers among technicians that orders from the top didn't make sense. He remembered the sight of a military transport docking hours before the blast, silent and unregistered. "Yes," he admitted finally, "it felt wrong." Tana nodded once, as though he had confirmed something she already suspected. The passage widened into what had once been a storage bay. Now it was a graveyard of twisted beams and shattered crates. The acrid stench of burned circuitry clung to the air. Liam led the way, carefully navigating the wreckage. Halfway through, Tana stumbled again, her breath hissing between clenched teeth. She collapsed against a bulkhead, clutching her thigh. "Sit," Liam said firmly. "We don't have time." "Sit," he repeated, more forceful this time. To his surprise, she obeyed, lowering herself carefully to the floor. Liam crouched beside her and peeled back the makeshift bandage. The sealant had slowed the bleeding, but the wound looked angry, swollen with heat. "You need proper medical care," he muttered. "There isn't any," she countered flatly. "Then you'll have to settle for me." Her eyes narrowed. "Do you even know what you're doing?" "I keep machinery alive for a living," Liam said, meeting her gaze. "You're just a different kind of machine." A sound escaped her, half scoff, half laugh. "You're bolder than I expected." He worked quickly, cleaning the wound with antiseptic swabs, applying fresh pressure. Her breath hitched, but she did not flinch. As his hands brushed against her skin, through the broken armor, she studied him. Eyes unreadable. "You don't scare easily, technician. You tried to kill me with a crowbar 5 minutes ago. After that, everything else feels manageable." That earned him a sharp, genuine laugh, brief but startling in its warmth. For a moment they sat in silence, the sounds of the dying station echoing around them. Liam's fingers lingered near the wound longer than necessary, steady against her trembling muscles. And in that stillness, something shifted. The commander and the technician were still worlds apart, yet the gulf between them seemed less infinite. They resumed their trek. The station groaned ominously as if resenting their intrusion into its corpse. Somewhere distant, metal tore free with a shriek and vibrations rippled through the floor. At the next junction, a figure emerged from the shadows, startling Liam into raising his makeshift pipe. "Don't," the newcomer cried. It was Malene, another technician. Her uniform was torn, her face streaked with grime and hydraulic fluid. She clutched a piece of pipe herself, trembling, but defiant. "Liam," she breathed, recognition flooding her eyes. Relief flickered until her gaze landed on Tana. Her expression hardened instantly. "What are you doing with her?" "She's hurt," Liam said carefully. "We're trying to reach the beacon." "She's military," Malene snapped. "The military section was hit first. Everyone knows this wasn't an accident, it was an attack, and she was part of it." "That's not true," Liam said sharply. "You don't know that," Malene's voice trembled. "I saw the transport. No manifest, no schedule, no reason to dock. An hour before the explosion." "Don't tell me that's coincidence." Tana's jaw clenched. "Civilian, you are making accusations without evidence." "I've seen enough," Malene spat. "She's dangerous. When the coalition comes for survivors, they'll kill you just for being near her." Her eyes turned pleading as she looked at Liam. "Come with me. Leave her. It's the only way to survive." Liam's heart pounded. He looked at Tana, wounded, pale, yet unyielding. He looked at Malene, frightened, desperate, but convinced of her truth. It would have been easier to run with Malene, to abandon the commander and save himself. Easier, but wrong. "I'm not leaving her," Liam said quietly but firmly. Malene's face twisted with anger and grief. "Then you're a fool. You'll die with her." She turned, disappearing into the shadows. Her footsteps echoed until silence swallowed them. They pressed on. The encounter left Liam shaken. Doubt gnawed at him. What if Malene was right? What if Tana had known more than she let on? What if Liam had just sealed his own fate? But when he looked at Tana, at the determination etched into her bloodied features, something steadied inside him. She wasn't perfect, she wasn't safe, but she was real. The emergency tunnel stretched endlessly ahead, lit only by failing red bulbs. Liam's chest ached with each breath, but he kept moving. Beside him, Tana limped onward, never complaining, never faltering. At one point, he caught her studying him again. What, he asked, uncomfortable under her gaze. "You defied me," she said simply. "No one has ever done that. Maybe no one should have had to." Her eyes lingered on him, unreadable. Then she nodded once, as though acknowledging something she had long denied. They reached a service hatch. Liam worked the manual crank, his fingers raw, until the door groaned open. Beyond lay the faint outlines of Tunnel B, still intact despite the explosion's carnage. Relief surged through him. "We're close," he said. Tana stepped past him, her limp slowing her, but not stopping her. Her voice was steadier now, though tinged with exhaustion. "Then let's make sure this isn't for nothing." And for the first time, Liam believed they might have a chance, not because the odds were in their favor, but because neither of them was ready to give up. The maintenance tunnel sloped downward, narrowing as it descended into the station's underbelly. Here the air smelled stale, filtered through ducts that barely functioned. Emergency lights blinked weakly, fighting against the creeping dark. Every groan of shifting metal echoed like a death rattle. Liam's breath grew ragged. The cut along his ribs had stiffened every movement, sending a dull ache through his chest. He pressed a hand against it, trying not to wince. Beside him, Tana limped steadily, jaw clenched, refusing to show weakness, though her thigh wound left streaks of blood behind. For long minutes, neither spoke. The only sounds were the crunch of boots on debris and the distant shriek of the station tearing itself apart. It was Liam who broke the silence. "We're almost there," he said. "Beacon's just ahead, tucked into an old compartment. Hardly anyone ever checks it." "Except you," Tana asked, her voice even. "Maintenance duty. We make sure things still work, just in case. Nobody thought we'd need it." He let out a bitter laugh. "Guess they were wrong." Tana didn't respond immediately. Her eyes flicked to the shadows, always alert, always scanning. "Beacons aren't miracles," she said finally. "Even if we get it running, it depends on who's listening. Hours, days. We don't have days." "No, She didn't sugarcoat it. She never did. They reached a bulkhead door sealed by manual crank. Liam twisted at muscles straining until the gears groaned and the hatch swung open. The compartment beyond was small, reinforced, and mercifully intact. Against the far wall, nestled in a protective alcove, sat the emergency beacon. It was old, scratched from years of neglect, but its power core indicator glowed faintly blue. There, Liam said, a small surge of hope breaking through the exhaustion. Tana limped forward, examining it with a soldier's eye. How do we power it? Not through the main grid, it's fried. I'll bypass to the auxiliary battery. He knelt, pulling his multi-tool from his belt. His fingers, raw and blistered, moved with practiced precision, stripping wires and realigning connections. Sparks flared. The beacon hummed to life. Its display flickered, then steadied, casting a pale glow across the compartment. Signals broadcasting, Liam announced. If anyone's listening, they'll hear us. How long until we know? Depends. He checked his wrist display. Oxygen, 53%. We've got maybe 18 hours left if we're careful. After that, he didn't finish. He didn't need to. Tana dug into a compartment on her armor and produced a small package. She tore it open, revealing a compressed protein bar, dull and colorless. Emergency ration, she explained. One left. She broke it in half and offered him a piece. Liam blinked. You're sharing. You patch my leg, she said simply. Eat. Hesitant, he took the ration. It tasted like chalk, but a hunger made it bearable. They sat side by side in silence, chewing in rhythm, the beacon's hum filling the air. Minutes passed, then unexpectedly Tana spoke. I had a sister, she said quietly. Liam turned, surprised by the confession. Now, she continued, she died in a collapse, mining accident on Terrace Prime. She was younger than me, smarter than me, always fixing the things I broke as a child. A ghost of a smile touched her lips, fleeting but real. I'm sorry, Liam said softly. What about you? She asked, turning the question back. Liam hesitated, then sighed. My brother was military, enlisted when I was 16. They called him a hero when he came back. But she prompted, hearing the weight in his voice. But he ran, Liam said bitterly. Left his squad behind during an ambush. Came home with medals while better men died. The family celebrated him. I couldn't. So I came out here, as far away from his shadow as I could get. Tana studied him for a long moment. Is that why you stayed invisible? 6 months taking orders, letting yourself be unseen? Liam looked away. Maybe. Her leg needed cleaning again. Liam pulled out antiseptic swabs, carefully removing the old dressing. The wound was red and inflamed, but the sealant still held. As he worked, he noticed another scar higher on her thigh, puckered and ugly, disappearing beneath her undersuit. Instinctively, he reached toward it. Her hand shot out, gripping his wrist with steel. Not that one. Her voice was colder than vacuum. He froze. Sorry, I just thought. It's old, she interrupted sharply. Nothing to be done. Liam nodded, withdrawing his hand. Silence fell as he applied fresh antiseptic. After a long pause, she spoke again, quieter this time. Plasma cutter. Garrison Uprising, Eridani 6. 3 years ago, I was captured. They wanted information. I didn't give it. The words carried weight, unspoken horrors. Torture, resistance, escape. Liam's hands moved more gently after that. As he secured the new bandage, his fingers brushed against something in a pocket of her armor. A small metal object slipped free. Liam caught it before it clattered to the floor. What's this? He asked. Tana's eyes softened. A memory token from my home colony. She took it, holding it up to the dim light. The brushed steel surface bore intricate etchings, patterns like waves or currents worn smooth in places from years of touch. May I? Liam asked. She hesitated, then placed it in his palm. The metal was warm from her body heat, heavier than it looked. A faint scent clung to it, sharp, briny, like sea salt. Everyone from my sector receives one when they complete their first hunt, she explained. Mine was a deep water predator. Took 3 days to track it. You're from a coastal colony. Vulto Islands, northern continent. Her expression grew wistful. The winters were magnificent. Ice sheets stretching to the horizon. When they cracked in spring, it sounded like the planet itself was waking. She reclaimed the token and tucked it away, the brief vulnerability vanishing behind her steel mask. Hours passed. The beacon pulsed steadily, sending its call into the void. Liam dozed fitfully against the wall, waking at every creak of the station. Tana remained watchful, though her eyes betrayed exhaustion. When she shifted, something slid from her armor, a strip of fabric iridescent blue-green even in the dim light. Liam caught it before it hit the floor. "What is this?" he asked, fingers brushing the strange weave. It was impossibly light, yet strong like silk infused with steel. Tana's expression changed instantly. She snatched it back, folding it with reverence. "Sea thread. From my homeworld. Ceremonial. My mother's. It's all I have left of her." The confession hung between them, a warrior admitting fragility. "It's beautiful," Liam said softly. "You wouldn't have seen it. The organism that produces it lives only in the deep trenches of our northern seas." Her fingers lingered where she hid it again, as though afraid the universe might snatch it away. The beacon chirped. A signal. "Someone's responding," Tana said, patching her comm into the frequency. A crackling voice filled the compartment. "This is Transport Vessel Marauder, responding to distress. Identify yourselves." Tana straightened. "This is Commander Tana Voss Security Division. Helio Station suffered catastrophic failure. 2 survivors require immediate extraction." Pause. Then acknowledge Commander. "Calculating your position. ETA 4 hours." Relief washed across Liam's face. "We're going to make it." But Tana's eyes hardened. "Marauder isn't one of ours," she said quietly. "Mercenary vessel, wrong response pattern, no verification codes." Liam's heart sank. "So what does that mean?" "It means we might be rescued by people who want to kill us. Or worse." Silence followed, thick and heavy. Finally, Liam spoke, voice low. "Then maybe you should go alone. You're the one with information they'll want. I'll just slow you down." Tana turned sharply, eyes narrowing. "Is that what your brother would say? That survival alone is better than loyalty?" The words cut deep. No, Liam admitted. He would have made it sound noble, a sacrifice. But it was fear. Always fear. "And now, yes, I'm afraid," Liam said honestly. "But that's not why I said it. You have a better chance alone." She limped closer, lowering herself until their eyes met. Her voice carried the weight of experience. "I've fought 3 planetary conflicts. Led 2 extractions. Do you know what I've learned?" He shook his head. "No one survives alone." She extended her hand. "We go together." Liam stared at it, then slowly took her hand. Their fingers interlaced, firm, unyielding. For the first time, hope felt real. The beacon's hum filled the cramped compartment, its blue glow casting long shadows across metal walls that shivered with each tremor of the dying station. Liam leaned against the bulkhead, eyelids, heavy exhaustion threatening to pull him under. Tana stood rigid, one hand resting on her damaged thigh, the other gripping her weapon as though sheer will alone kept her upright. For a brief, fragile moment, it almost felt like hope had found them. A rescue ship inbound. A chance however slim to survive. Then the voice came through the comms. "Commander Tana Voss, this is Captain Reeves' Coalition's Special Recovery Division. We've received your distress call. Confirmed number of survivors." Liam's head snapped up. Tana's posture stiffened. "Reeves, Coalition." Authority returned to the air like a suffocating blanket. "2 survivors," Tana said steadily. "Myself and technician Liam Hardo." Static buzzed for a beat before Reeves responded. "Acknowledged. We're boarding shortly. Prepare for extraction." The line clicked off. Liam let out a shaky sigh. "Coalition. That's good, right? Actual rescue, not mercenaries." Tana's expression was unreadable. "Not necessarily." Minutes later, the sound of boots reverberated through the corridor. Heavy, synchronized, disciplined. Liam's stomach knotted. Tana moved to stand in front of him, posture rigid despite her limp. The hatch groaned open. 3 soldiers entered, sealed in environmental suits, weapons raised with mechanical precision. Behind them came a woman with sharp eyes and an insignia gleaming on her chest, Captain Reeves. Her presence radiated command, every motion economical assured. "Commander Voss," she said crisply, "you've survived." "Barely," Tana replied, voice flat. Reeves's gaze flicked to Liam. "And this is the technician." "Yes," Tana confirmed. "He saved my life twice." Reeves made a subtle gesture. One of her soldiers stepped forward, scanning Liam with a handheld device. "Liam Hardo," the soldier reported. "Junior maintenance, no clearance." Reeves's expression hardened. "Expendable witness protocol." The words sent a chill through Liam's veins. He didn't know the specifics, but he understood enough. He wasn't meant to survive this. Tana's eyes narrowed. Captain, he's under my protection. You know the rules, Reeves countered. He's seen things above his clearance. Procedure is clear. No, Tana's voice was steel. He comes with us. Reeves's brow arched. Your rank doesn't override security protocols. Liam stepped forward, voice breaking. Don't, please, don't throw everything away for me. I'm not worth it. But Tana didn't flinch. The soldiers' advanced weapons raised. Liam's heart pounded. The room shrank around him, every exit blocked. The soldier scanning him stopped suddenly, the device beeping. He reached into Liam's pocket and pulled free the memory token Tana had entrusted to him. Unknown object, the soldier said. Possible contraband. Handed over another demanded rifle leveled at Liam's chest. It's not mine, Liam said desperately. We don't care whose it is, the soldier snapped. Give it up. Liam's hand closed around the token. Rage flared primal protective. He couldn't let them take it. Not her last tie to home. The soldier raised his rifle. 3 seconds before this becomes resistance. 1, Liam's muscles coiled. He could swing, knock the weapon aside, risk everything. 2, across the room, Tana's eyes locked with his. She gave the smallest shake of her head. Not now. Her gaze burned with meaning. This wasn't their fight, not yet. Liam's hand opened. The token dropped into the soldier's glove. Ornamental Reeves dismissed with a glance. Bag it with the rest. Something inside Liam cracked. They were going to kill him, reduce him to a casualty on a report, and no one would ever know. But Tana knew. He's under my protection, she said again, stepping fully between Liam and the soldiers. Commander Voss, Reeves warned, her tone sharpening. Think carefully. Your career, your oath. I said no. Reeves's jaw tightened. Secure the technician. The soldiers moved, and Tana fired. The blast struck the wall beside them, sending shards of metal spraying. Soldiers dove for cover, shouting. In the chaos, Tana grabbed Liam's arm and yanked him toward a side hatch. What are you doing? Liam gasped as alarms blared. I don't know yet, she snapped, dragging him forward. Working on it. They fled through the maintenance tunnels, the sound of pursuit echoing behind them. Tana's tactical display flickered with hostile signatures converging. Her injured legs slowed her, forcing Liam to take more of her weight. Why, he demanded as they ran. Why risk everything for me? Because they're wrong, she said simply. And I've followed wrong orders before. At a junction, her display lit with incoming signatures. 3 left, 2 behind. Only option is right. Right's a dead end, Liam warned. Then we make a stand. Blaster fire ripped through the quarter, sparks raining from the ceiling. Tana shoved Liam ahead, returning fire with grim precision. A bolt grazed her shoulder, spinning her into the wall. She staggered but kept shooting. They reached the end, a sealed maintenance hatch. Beyond it, nothing but vacuum. Liam's eyes darted frantic until he spotted an equipment locker. Pressure suits, he breathed. Tana fired another volley, not designed for combat. Got a better idea. Another shot struck her leg, reopening the wound. She collapsed. Liam caught her before she fell, hauling her toward the locker. No, she growled, gritting her teeth. Leave me! Not happening. Working quickly, Liam helped her into a suit. It wasn't built for armor, so she stripped off plating until the fabric stretched over her frame. The brace he had made for her, leg remained in place, awkward but functional. They're getting closer, Tana warned as footsteps thundered nearer. Almost ready, his hand shook as he sealed her helmet, then his own. Oxygen gauges lit up 30-minute supply. Not much time, Liam muttered. Then we move fast. The hatch override screeched as it opened. Instantly, vacuum howled, sucking at their bodies. Soldiers stumbled, clutching at rails. Now Liam shouted. Together, he and Tana pushed off, launching into the void. Magnetic boots locked against the hull with a jarring thud. The stars spread out around them, endless and cold. The auxiliary hangar loomed 300 meters away. Between them and salvation lay twisted debris, jagged tears in the station's hull, and the infinite drop into nothing. 300 meters, Liam said through the comms. That way. Tana's breathing rasped in his ear. Each step was agony for her leg, but she pressed on. Liam stayed close, steadying her when she faltered. Behind them, soldiers regrouped, cutting through the station to intercept. They'll beat us to the hangar, Liam realized. Options, Tana demanded, each word strained. Scanning the hull, Liam spotted a ruptured fuel line near the hangar wall, venting mist into space. There he said, "We can ignite it, create a distraction. Too close. Only chance." She met his gaze through her visor. After a heartbeat, she nodded. They crouched behind a section of debris. Liam's hands shook as he aimed his repair laser. The beam was faint, nearly invisible, but when it touched, the leaking fuel fire bloomed silently across the hull. A brilliant flare lit the void, rippling like a starburst. Their visors darkened, automatically shielding their eyes. Soldiers scrambled, disoriented by the explosion. "Now," Tana said. They pushed forward, boots clanging against the station's skin. Each meter gained was a victory. Oxygen countdown, 25 minutes. The hangar's emergency airlock loomed ahead. They stumbled inside as decompression alarms wailed. The chamber sealed, pressure returning with a hiss. Tana collapsed against the wall, blood seeping through her suit. Liam dropped beside her, pressing a sealant pack against her wound. Their eyes met, closer than they had ever been. Neither spoke. Neither needed to. 13 minutes of oxygen remained. The inner hatch opened, revealing the hangar miraculously intact, and at its center, a shuttle glowing with standby power. For the first time, survival seemed within reach. The airlock hissed open, and for one heartbeat, Liam believed they had made it. The auxiliary hangar stretched before them, miraculously intact. Its reinforced walls still held against the encroaching vacuum, though scorch marks scarred the ceiling where explosions had licked. Dim emergency lights painted the chamber in a blood-red glow. At its center stood Salvation, a shuttle small but functional, its systems humming faintly with standby power. Liam's chest tightened with fragile hope. "Our ride," he whispered. Tana leaned heavily against him, her body trembling from exertion. Blood had soaked through the bandages, staining the inner layer of her pressure suit. Yet her eyes locked on the shuttle with determination that even pain could not dull. Together, step by step, they crossed the hangar floor. Each movement was a victory, each meter another defiance against the universe that wanted them dead. They had gone only 3 steps when the far doors opened. Captain Reeves entered with 4 soldiers in tow, their rifles gleaming in the emergency glow. "Impressive," Reeves said, voice carrying across the cavernous space. "But this ends now." Liam froze. Tana straightened, forcing herself upright, though her injured leg trembled. "He saved me," she declared, her voice raw but steady. "I won't let you harm him." "Protocol is clear," Reeves cut in sharply. "Security of coalition intelligence takes precedence. The technician is expendable." Tana's hand found Liam's. She squeezed once firm grounding before letting go. Then she stepped forward, placing herself squarely between him and the soldiers. "Not about security," she said evenly. "This is about being human." Reeves's weapon rose steady and cold. "Final warning. Step aside." Tana's hand moved deliberately. She reached up, fingers closing around the insignia on her suit, the symbol of rank, authority, identity. With one sharp tug, she tore it free. The small disc of metal gleamed in the crimson light, heavy with everything it represented. Years of service, battles fought, loyalty sworn. For a long moment, she held it in her palm. Then she let it fall. It clattered onto the hangar floor, the sound impossibly loud in the silence. The soldiers hesitated, glancing at one another. A commander discarding her rank in front of them. It wasn't in any manual. It wasn't in any protocol. Reeves's eyes narrowed, her certainty flickering. "You're throwing away your career for a technician." Tana didn't answer. Instead, she lowered herself slowly to one knee. Not collapsing from injury, this was deliberate, theatrical, undeniable. The hangar seemed to hold its breath. Even the dying station stilled, metal groans fading as if waiting for this moment. Tana lifted her gaze visor, reflecting the red light, and fixed her eyes on Liam. "Your order, Master," she said. The words hit him like a physical blow. Liam stood motionless, caught in the gravity of the act. She wasn't surrendering to Reeves. She was kneeling to him. A commander, an elite warrior, an emblem of coalition, might renouncing her authority and placing her fate in the hands of a technician. The soldiers shifted uneasily, rifles wavering. Reeves's jaw tightened, her finger easing off the trigger despite herself. In Tana's eyes, Liam saw everything. Defiance, vulnerability, trust. The woman who had spoken of her sister, who carried a memory token from a home of ice and oceans, who laughed when he wiped dirt from her cheek in a dying corridor. He understood. This wasn't submission, it was choice. Liam stepped forward. His boot scraped against the deck, breaking the silence. He reached down, not to help her rise, but to take her hand. Their fingers interlaced, glove against glove, firm as iron. "We leave," he said simply, "together." Reeves's lips parted, but no words came. Something in the scene, something in the defiance radiating from them both shook her certainty. "Captain," one soldier asked, voice uncertain. His rifle aimed at Liam's chest, but his hands trembled. Reeves stood frozen, caught between duty and doubt. "Stand down," she said finally, her voice hollow. The soldiers hesitated, then lowered their weapons. Liam and Tana moved toward the shuttle. The hangar doors groaned, beginning to close, a last attempt to trap them. Liam slammed the thrusters to maximum. The shuttle lurched forward, engines screaming as metal scraped metal. For one terrifying second, it seemed they would crash. Then, with a burst of sparks, the shuttle squeezed through the narrowing gap and burst into the void. They were free. The dying station fell away behind them, its once proud silhouette jagged and broken, swallowed by darkness. Liam's hands shook on the controls, sweat dripping into his eyes. Warning lights flashed across the console: structural integrity compromised, fuel reserves, minimal navigation, unreliable. None of it mattered. They were alive. Tana slumped into the co-pilot seat, her face pale beneath her visor. "Can you fly this?" she asked, voice tight with pain. "Watch me," Liam said, his hands moving with surprising steadiness over the controls. Muscle memory from basic training, buried deep, surged to the surface. The shuttle shuddered, then steadied. Its engines roared, pushing them into the black. Hours later, the shuttle descended toward a small, ice-covered moon orbiting a gas giant. The surface glimmered white beneath the stars, jagged mountains rising like frozen teeth. "There," Liam whispered. Nestled in a narrow valley stood a small prefab habitat module, nearly invisible against the snow, its thermal signature masked by geothermal vents. "Home," he said softly. The shuttle touched down with a gentle thud. 6 weeks passed. The Coalition declared Helio Station a total loss. Commander Tana Voss and Technician Liam Hardo were listed as casualties. Case closed. But inside the prefab module, life persisted. Liam repaired systems, gathered geothermal power, made the barren place livable. Tana's leg healed slowly, though scars remained. She sat often by the viewport, wrapped in a thermal blanket, staring out at the endless white. In her hand, she worked with the strip of sea thread, weaving it into an intricate bracelet. "The storm's letting up," Liam said one evening, standing beside her. "Another will come," she answered. "Always does on worlds like this." Her eyes were clearer now, less haunted. But unspoken questions lingered between them, choices made in crisis, bonds formed in blood. "Why?" Liam asked finally. "On the station, you gave up everything, for me." Tana's hands stilled on the half-finished weave. "Did I?" she said quietly. "I'm not worth what you lost. You think that's why I did it for you?" She held his gaze. "It was for me. I spent my life following orders, being what others needed. You were the first who showed me I could choose differently." Liam looked away, throat tight. "I'm no savior. I just couldn't let go." Her expression softened, "And that's why I stayed." But peace was fragile. The habitat's alarms blared one night. Liam rushed to the console. "Drone," he said grimly. "Coalition design." Tana joined him, pale but steady. "They found us. Maybe it's just a sweep." "No." She shook her head. "They're looking for us. For me." The drone disappeared over the ridge. But the next morning, alarms wailed again. This time it wasn't a drone. "Dropships," Liam reported, voice grim. 3 of them. Armored figures advanced across the snow, weapons glinting. A voice boomed over the external speakers. "Commander Voss, come quietly. The technician will be forgotten." Tana's fingers closed around the finished bracelet. She turned to Liam, eyes fierce. "This time," she said, "I'll tell them who I am." Snow swept across the valley in icy sheets, driven by winds that howled like mourning voices through jagged peaks. The prefab habitat crouched at the valley center, half buried against the storm, its faint lights flickering like a fragile heartbeat in the endless white. Liam stood by the console, staring at the readings with dread. 3 dropships descending fast, Coalition. Not mercenaries, not scavengers. The system itself had come for them. "They're here," he said, voice flat. Tana moved stiffly to his side, the brace on her leg creaking. 6 weeks of rest had healed her enough to walk unaided, but scars lingered. Pain shadowed every movement, though she never spoke of it. They came sooner than I expected, she murmured. Liam's fists clenched. We could run, slip into the tunnels, vanish into the mountains. I've mapped routes. She shook her head. No, they'd hunt us forever. There's only one way this ends. Her eyes dropped to the object in her hands, the sea-thread bracelet she had woven, shimmering faintly with iridescent hues even in the stormlight. The dropships landed a few hundred meters away, kicking up waves of snow that blinded the valley. When the mist cleared, armored soldiers advanced in formation, rifles at the ready. Their visors glowed like cold stars beneath heavy helmets. Above them hovered the command vessel, a black silhouette against the pale sky. From its belly, a voice boomed across the valley. Commander Tanavos, you are ordered to surrender. Step forward. The technician will not be recorded. Liam's stomach turned at the phrasing "not be recorded," a bureaucratic euphemism for erasure, forgotten as though he had never existed. He turned to Tana. We can't let them take you. We'll fight. Her hand touched his arm, steady. No, fighting them here is suicide, but we can show them something they've never seen. She pressed the bracelet into his palm. The weave was tight, flawless, glowing softly as though alive. On my world, she said, voice fierce, despite the storm, these mark bonds that cannot be broken. Not by distance, time, or even death. They are given when one chooses a new clan, a new family. Liam's throat tightened. Tana. Her eyes softened. You saved me when no one else would. Now let me return the choice. The outer airlock opened with a hiss. Freezing wind knifed through, stealing Liam's breath. Tana stepped out into the snow. No, without hesitation. Her hair whipped in the gale, silver strands tangling across her face. Her armor was battered, stripped of insignia, but she held herself tall, every inch a commander. Liam followed the bracelet clutched tight in his hand. The soldiers spread in a semicircle, weapons trained. Their boots crunched in unison, forming a wall of steel and protocol. Tana walked forward until she stood 10 meters from the line. Then she stopped. The storm howled around her, snow swirling in chaotic spirals. Slowly, deliberately, she lowered herself to one knee. The sight froze the world. She wasn't kneeling to them. Her gaze remained fixed on Liam, standing at the habitat's threshold. And she was smiling not with resignation, not with fear, but with radiant defiance. Your order, Master. She called, her voice carrying clearly through the storm. On the command vessel, silence reigned. Officers stared at their displays, uncertain. No protocol covered this. The soldiers on the ground shifted uneasily. This wasn't surrender. This wasn't mutiny. It was something new, something outside the rigid chains of command. Liam's heart pounded. The storm blurred his vision, but Tana's smile cut through like a beacon. She wasn't asking him to save her. She was asking him to stand beside her. He walked forward, each step sinking into the snow until he reached her side. He lifted the bracelet and slipped it onto his wrist. Then with trembling hands, he touched her cheek. I see you, he whispered, and I choose you too. He turned, then facing the soldiers, his voice steady, despite the fear clawing at his chest. She's not yours anymore, and neither am I. The words carried across the valley, bold and undeniable. For several heartbeats, nothing moved. Then one soldier shifted, lowering his rifle ever so slightly. Another followed. Doubt spread through the line like cracks in ice. Above, the command vessel's voice returned, but the certainty was gone. Stand down. They are outside jurisdiction. We will monitor. One by one, the soldiers withdrew, retreating toward their dropships. Engines roared, kicking up snow as the vessels lifted into the sky. The formation broke apart, vanishing into the clouds. The storm swallowed the sound, leaving only silence. Liam extended his hand to Tana. She looked at it, then shook her head. On my world, she said softly, kneeling, means more than loyalty. It means asking to join a new clan, a family. Her voice wavered just slightly. The real question is, will you accept me, not as a fugitive, but as your own? Liam's throat closed. He knelt in the snow before her, bringing them eye to eye. His hand found hers, fingers intertwining, the sea-thread bracelet glinting between them. I've been accepting you since I wiped dirt from your cheek on a dying station, he said. Her lips parted, and for the first time in weeks, she laughed, a sound unbroken by bitterness or pain. Pure, unguarded joy. They rose together, turning back toward the small habitat. Above, the dropships vanished into the storm, and the sky did not fire. Inside, the memory token rested on a shelf by the viewport, no longer hidden, but displayed proudly. The habitat's walls groaned against the wind, but within them was warmth, a heater's hum, the glow of lanterns, and the steady rhythm of two heartbeats side by side. Liam sat the bracelet warm against his wrist, watching Tana work silently with her hands. She wove another piece of sea thread, fingers steady despite the storm outside. "Do you think they'll come back?" he asked. "Yes," she said. "They'll never stop watching. But let them watch." Her eyes lifted to his, fierce and unwavering. "Some choices are worth making, even when the whole system sees." Liam reached across the table, his hand covering hers. The weight of the past, the explosions, the betrayals, the near deaths, fell away, leaving only this moment. Some homes weren't places. They were people who stood beside you when everything else fell apart. Weeks later, a new storm raged outside, burying the habitat deeper beneath the snow. Inside, Liam adjusted geothermal regulators, while Tana sharpened a salvaged blade, her movements calm and precise. The coalition would come again, but when they did, they would not find a commander and a technician bound by rank and protocol. They would find a clan of two bound by choice, and perhaps by then by something even more unbreakable.